Welcome back to the No Judge Necessary podcast, where we got the opinions like DC, we're crazy like KG, and we're as high as O'Malley. We're the podcast for fight fans that don't want to see fists fly and don't want to wait on the judges. I'm your host, Brick, and as always, my cornerman, Nil, and today's special guest, apparently Brick's dad, but we got our boy, Tim. Tim, how we doing?
Good, man. Just, did the usual, go get some milk, go get some bread, go get some eggs. We're about to get a couple feet of snow up here in this frozen hellhole that we call Boston. So, just bracing for the storm, crushing a couple beers, and wanted to come join y'all.
Word?
Yeah,
now, I got to say, you said we don't want to see hands fly. That is the exact opposite of what this pod is about. The only reason I watch fights is to see hands fly. So we're off to a great start, but how are we feeling? I mean, judges, controversial topic. We got to just hop into it, right?
Yeah.
There's no fucking about here.
Pretty much the
Let's
reason
go with
we
judging
brought
in this sport.
Tim on the thing. He had a few hot takes, and we've been kind of discussing it all week. Obviously, we're referencing the Brandon Moreno-Davidson-Figueiredo fight and the whole state of
Bro, we started this pod because we hate judges. No judges necessary. We don't need fucking judges. People can figure out who won a fight without three assholes who don't know shit about the sport. So let me hear it. Why are you upset?
Tim, the floor is yours.
All right. I've been known to rant, so I'll try to keep it short-ish. I guess for me, at the end of the day, obviously I've known Derek and Nolan for a long time, or Brick and Nolan, and we like all the same things, all the same sports. We've always been NFL, NBA, NHL. And these guys a couple of years ago, God, maybe even 5-10 years ago, got really into UFC. And I've been trying. And I can say I've come a long way, and I respect the sport in ways that I didn't before. And I can appreciate it in ways I didn't before. But, the thing that I think is hardest for me as someone who, is a major 4 sports fan, adding in soccer 5, it's really tough for me when it's such a close matchup, when it's it could go either way. It's a coin flip. It's close. I just don't think the judges get it right enough of the time. And again, I'm coming in as a moderate fan. Who the fuck am I to say, oh, I know more than these judges. These guys are sitting live. These guys have experience. This is what they do for a living. I understand that. I think if I'm trying to look a step back from a different angle as a sport as a whole. How are we deciding fights with these judges? They're not looking at any statistics. Me at home in my living room has a better angle at the fight from camera angles, and we're getting all these updated stats after every round. And unless I'm mistaken, they don't get that. Correct. So I hate the people who come in and always like to complain about things but don't have an answer. It's one thing to complain about something and have a solution, but the people who just complain and then go, well, I don't know how you fix it. I know those people suck, so I really don't want to come off as that because it can be perceived that way. But I guess what I'm saying is the sport has made so much progress in the last, 20, 25 years since they started.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And I just, and you look at the NFL, they're still progressing. They're still making changes every year, good and bad sometimes, but they're trying to make the game better. They're doing stuff with the safer stuff, which obviously we don't want the UFC to do. But, they're making changes to try to make it more fair and more competitive and a better sport. I think UFC is still in its growing stages. I mean, the NFL was started, 70, 80 years ago? So they got time. I do think they need to be open to making tweaks, whether it's, even if it's just giving those guys the stats, adding in a judge, maybe there's different
What I don't understand.
So, before we get into solutions, because I think we can go deep into that. The one thing I do want to bring up, because it's like the NFL analogy you just made to me, I think there's an analogy kind of for fighting and how I look at it and why the judging, it pisses me off, but it doesn't piss me off as much, it's very similar to me of NFL overtime, where you had the opportunity, you and your team had the opportunity to finish this without a doubt, no questions asked, before the final bell. Before the thing went to 0, you had a chance to win this fight. And if you won it convincingly, like you blew them out in a 3-round decision, no one's mad about the judging. And if you knocked them out, the fight's over. In the same way of an NFL game where, if you went toe-to-toe and it's tied after, the clock goes to 0, you know what? It's a coin flip and it's kind of a fucked up thing and you could get fucked.
Right.
And that's where I'm like, I don't think either system is perfect, but I think I'm a little more okay with it on that where I'm like, hey, if you didn't clearly win the fight,
levels,
but
we have to get it right.
We do have to get it right. The difference where I'm a little more okay with it in fighting than in football is that, unlike football, Josh Allen got to wait 364 days for his next fucking chance after he just got fucked by what people think is a coin
Three-quarters of a year. 3/4 of a year, but I know what you're getting at.
Yeah, but he's got to wait.
He's got training camp in July. You know, he'll be back.
Yeah, but not playoffs for another 11 months. You know,
correct.
He's not going to be back on the big lights in that same position for another 11 months.
And there's no guarantee he'll be there.
Correct.
There's no guarantee
Moreno can be right back in that spot in 3 months.
No, we got to get
he can prove himself, and I feel like
he can be back. He can be back to going for a title in 3 months. I'm asking that genuinely. That's how quick it can be.
Nope, he's not.
Now that this was already their third, this was already the trilogy. He's probably got to go beat somebody else. I mean, he's looking at least 6 months.
Remember this trilogy, even though it was the first ever trilogy to be fought 3 consecutive times, it's 1-1-1. Like, you have to at least give some credit to a champ that kind of maybe got screwed out of a title. Like, I understand why they don't want it.
Judges are fucked up. I just don't get it. The decision is so massive. It's a 5-round fight. And over, let's say, 2 million people watch this shit. And we got 3 judges, 3 sitting cage side. Why do we not have 7? Why do we not have a minimum of 5? There should be way more judges. They should be in a back room, like how the NBA and NFL have replay bunkers or centers where they go. There should be 100%, 5 people back there. They can't be influenced by the outside world. It's just one person in fucking little cubicle. We do it 5 times. They get all the screens in the world. Bam. They're not influenced by the crowd noise as much. They're just sitting back there scoring the fight as fair as can be. And it needs to be the hardest challenge is we need it to be ex-fighters, but they can't be people who just are going to vote for their friends. So how do we get that balance? How do you get that balance? And because it shouldn't be someone like me who applied for a test and passed it, and now all of a sudden I'm licensed to be the judge of Brandon Moreno Figueiredo in Las Vegas.
And the real problem,
that's the dumbest thing ever.
The real problem with former fighters is especially in this, and it's growing so much now, but especially like you were saying 10, 20 years ago, it's such a small world within those fighters that everyone either a friend or an enemy. Like, you know, or you're a friend of a friend, or you trained with a friend of a friend. Like, it's so an interconnected world that I don't know if you can get those biases out. One of my solutions I had, which I think will be a little easier to swallow, because, like, again, kind of like you said with the NFL, when you tweak these things, you can't always just overhaul it completely.
You get some things right, you get some things wrong.
Yeah. Right. And just with your fans, you can't, like, throw out your whole last system. So I think you kind of have to build upon it. One of my kind of a little weird ideas, but you keep the 3 judges. You add a 4th judge, which is like Neil's saying, eye in the sky. He has the stats. He's in a back room, because I don't think you can put all of them that back there, because then you get the Wizard of Oz factor, and everyone's like, who's answering those phone calls in the back room?
I still have that question to this day, and they sit fucking cage side.
Correct.
I hate Saul D'Amato, and I have no idea what he looks like. They're doing a great job at keeping him undercover. We still hate him now. I still have no clue what's going on. I still haven't seen a judge in my life. If I saw one, I'd walk right past them.
All right. But continuing on my idea, I hadn't finished. So that would be, so you have your normal 3. You have your 4th judge in the, like, eye in the sky guy. And then the 5th judge. And we need a good coding system. And we got to figure out how to not hack this. But should be the fans. At this point, it's 2022. As much as we're MMA Twitter's so involved, everyone's so split online and everything.
That's tough.
But listen, and because it's a 5th judge, it doesn't have that much influence, because let's think about it. If the first 3 judges that we already normally had all score correctly for the winner of the fight, the last 2 don't fucking matter. And then now if we split, if they're split at all, if one guy goes the other way, now the other 2 get involved. The guy who actually knows what he's talking about, saw the stats, saw better angles of the fights, and then the people who pay your salaries and are bitching about it on Twitter and are the only ones who actually care about who won Figueiredo or Moreno. So if you can get a 60-40 on the fans and you got the eye in the sky guy to flip your vote,
Yeah, so I have 2 points. One, I just want to comment on what you just said, and then I have something, before we were talking solutions. But I will say I like the fan idea. It's an interesting thing where, like you said, it would only matter in certain situations. But I worry about like turning it into like the NBA All-Star voting where like Alex Caruso makes it, or these American Idol things where it's like, how is the singer in the final 5? Like, he's just got a following. Like, I worry about that.
Yeah.
So
no, and like Patty Plimblett getting every vote. I know that's definitely a controversy. That worries me. If it isn't a fan, maybe it's not a direct like, hey, we just open a poll to Twitter. But what if we got 100 fans that we know are like really into MMA? Yeah. They're getting me, him, they're getting Mac Malley, and then we vote on the fights. You can find 100 assholes to do that. That's not hard.
Yeah, and I just wanted to say, and not to circle back too much, but before we were talking solutions, you had mentioned the UFC and the NFL and how most of the time it's like, hey, make a stop, win the fight within the distance. That was sort of your argument or your point that it's like, finish it. Don't let it get to that point. Right. I think that is very true, but I would say that works and it makes sense 98 to 99% of the time. But I think a great example from this weekend is Moreno and the Bills Chiefs. I think it was hilarious that they were within 24 hours or whatever of each other, because I think what you said works most of the time. But when it's literally could not be any closer. I mean, it couldn't be. It literally evenly matched as much as most people could, as much as the mind could almost imagine. Almost like he made him stumble twice. He had a takedown. He dominated most of the ring. When it's that close, that's where I have the issue, because Derek, what you said, 98 to 99% of the time, I agree with. But I think in weird, specific situations, you could nitpick and find situations where it's like, and I'll say, I'm not on record. I think the NFL should keep their rule. I'm a little bit of an old school fan where, hey, if your defense isn't good enough to hold them to a 3, I hated the rule when it was a field goal wins you the game. Overtime, first team that gets a coin flip, you go 30 yards, you kick a 50-yarder, you win. I hated that. But having to go score a touchdown, you got to go 75 yards, like make a stop. You only got to stop on 3 downs in a row from getting 10 yards, like make a stop. So I'm fine with the NFL's rule, because the argument is, what if Allen did get the ball? How many, dude, if that game could have gone on for fucking 5 years, no one was making a stop for the rest of that game. The defenses were both gassed. No one was making a stop unless the offense made a blatant mistake. That game wasn't going to end ever.
And bringing it back to the UFC, that's where, like, we've talked about in the past, and I still think there's an idea for it, but like the overtime of fights, like, hey, this is so close, 6th and final or 4th and final.
About 1% of the time. 1% of the time maybe it's not overtime. I don't know what it is. Yeah. Again, I hate to be the guy who's complaining without a solution. I hate that.
No, there should be overtime for certain fights. It's a 4th or a 6th round if it's for the belt, and it should be 3 minutes, and the winner of that round wins the fight.
I don't know. There's got to be something.
It shouldn't be a full 5. I don't think you can add. That's adding a whole quarter. That's chaos.
Just so tough.
You can't be doing that. Player safety.
What about
and
one
fighter
3-minute round? 1 3-minute round. And honestly, you know what they need to start doing more? And I hate this. I hate it. Ties like kissing your sister, whatever the expression is. Like, dude, sometimes I feel like it's like it was a fucking tie. Like that Moreno fight, you could make a good argument that like
it was a draw.
Maybe. But the thing that shocked me, and honestly, this is more of a.
But it's because you scored by rounds.
That's the issue.
You scored by rounds.
He was the champ. I have never ever seen, and again, I watch just mostly the main cards for people out there. I don't watch every fight like these two do. But how do you take the belt from someone on something like that? Like, listen, I'm all for it, but like, how do you take the belt? Maybe it's just title fights. Just throw it out there. Maybe it's just competitions between top 4 or 5 fighters.
I've gone back and forth on this exact point because I do think that there is an aspect of you have to take the belt off the champ. Like, you just have to like take that away from them. But I keep struggling with it because what I keep coming back on is you can't change the rules of the sport for champions. That's just not how you do it. We can't, going back to our NFL analogy, we can't just now say in the Super Bowl we're playing by X rules, or now you get 5 downs, or now like if it's tied we go to kicks or something. Like you can't completely change that in the Super Bowl.
It's because this sport is judged by round. that fights that are so close, it almost like doesn't matter. It's like, well, he won rounds 1, 3, and 5, so it's over. He beat him. Well, did he really beat him?
Now, why couldn't you change it for playoffs? I mean, hockey plays the whole season with a shootout, and then in the playoffs, there's no shootout. Like, I mean, it's a little similar to that in my mind. Like, why can't you? You know, the NBA changes the quarter to 5 minutes. It's not 12 again. I mean, like, I don't know. Like, I don't know. I'm just saying, like, obviously they do 5 the whole year, but my point is, like, why can't you make I mean, I'm not saying I agree with you, Brick, but I think just open mind. We're just talking ideas here. Why couldn't you? I mean, honestly, why couldn't you? You know what? Maybe. What about this? What about just similar to the fight? A 3-minute fourth round, or a 3-minute sixth round. I mean, it is crazy when you start talking about six rounds.
The Ultimate Fighter,
it's crazy.
You can't do 6 reality show. The Ultimate Fighter reality show. The fights on that show are only 2-round fights. And if the judges determine it needs to go to a third, they do a third for the winner decides all. I think they should add that into certain fights. Right. But it's hard when you score it by round. Yes, was it a close fight? It was. But I beat you, Tim, rounds 1 and 3. You beat me in rounds 2. In each round, we barely won the round. But guess what? I beat you on points. That's a big problem as well.
Something else that if
it was one championship scoring where they judge the entirety of the fight and not by rounds, a lot more fights would end in a draw and then would actually be needing a 4th round to decide all. Right. And that would change the landscape of everything.
Piggybacking off of that, Nolan, this is more of a question for you two, and I'd actually like to hear your answer on it. Like, again, this is from a moderate UFC fan. This isn't from somebody who's a diehard. Why is it, say somebody wins round 1, say, if for example, whoever wins round 1, but barely, then they get barely win round 2, and then round 3, the other guy absolutely blows them out of the water. I don't feel like they give enough 10-8s, or I think there should be a different scoring where.
But if that happens,
you
it's
dominate, draw, almost have them knocked out. You're choking them out as the time expires, versus somebody who he had a couple more significant strikes in the first 2 rounds. It's like, dude, when the shit got late, real, and it got late, the other dude was the one pounding him. But based off the UFC scoring, the guy who barely won the first 2 rounds gets it. And to me, it's like, well, if that guy dominated 1 round, that could mean more than 2 rounds, but it never does. Exactly. Am I just being,
So
no,
there's two kind of things with that, especially that I've always thought of, is that there needs to be a weighted, and these are 2 separate ideas. There needs to either be a weighted scoring system where later in the fight counts for more, because I've always just kind of had that high school street fight. Like, if you punch me 3 times in the face early on in the fight, but at the end of the fight, you're on the ground and I'm not, I won the fight. It doesn't matter what you did in the beginning. So granted, this is a sport. It's a little different. Back to the NFL, if I score 3 touchdowns in the first quarter, those still count in the fourth quarter. So you can't you can't discount everything. But I think that they need to open up some sort of scoring system, unless they adopt a one championship where they do it on. If they still want to do round scoring, I think it should be something where basically you're splitting 100 points. So, you would be rating the rounds 60-40 or 70-30.
My problem with doing numbers,
add that up, because like Tim's saying, is if I win 2 rounds, 55-55, I get 2 55s. I just barely won that round by half a point or 0.5, 5 points, whatever scale you want to put it on. And then you come out and put up an 80-20 on me. It gives them a lot more flexibility to feel safe, where it's just a 10-8 has to be a near.
I'm just afraid the judging.
You
should be able to get a 10-8 a little easier, I think.
100%.
Sorry, go on.
I'm afraid if you did that idea, Brick, I've thought of this, and there's a part of me that's scared that the judging community will just have this unwritten scale of this is what we do, and it will still have this problem.
And it's just
larger numbers.
Right.
You know what I'm trying to say?
Hey,
because I've been why don't we score it out of 100? Well, then the ref will just give 100 to 99, and we'll still have this problem. So I'm kind of scared with numbers, but I like the idea. I just feel like it's going to be 51-49.
Every time.
Yeah. And it's just never, because the judges are like that. They're going to have their little click.
Right.
So acknowledging that we're comparing apples to oranges here, obviously, you can't, any sport, when you're comparing, Wayne Gretzky, Tom Brady, whatever, you compare anything, it's hard. You never mind a single athlete sport to an NFL type. How do you compare Michael Phelps or Usain Bolt to Tom Brady? It's a stupid conversation because how do you? So I take that into consideration. But, going back to the round scoring, if, a football team outscores the other team by 3 points in the first quarter, 3 points in the second quarter, 7 points in the third quarter, and the other team that's losing outscores them by 14 in the fourth, guess who wins the game? You know what I'm saying? Like, it's like, I think UFC needs a little more of that where sometimes you want each round to matter all the same. I get that, but I do think it is a little important that the later rounds, whether we want to admit it or not, do matter more. It's later in the fight.
Yeah. All right, question. Are you up for this idea of saying, fuck the rounds, let's just score who won the fight?
Just on a whole.
On a whole. Start to finish. Who won this shit?
Yeah, I mean, you'd have to come up with a scoring system for your judges, but I would be in. At this point, I just want to see the UFC make a tweak or two because as someone who's a moderate fan, I want to like it. All of my friends love the sport, but dude, so many of these questionable calls, I just leave with a bad taste in my mouth. Like, I've won a couple, I've won some bets on some fights where I'm like, my guy got his ass kicked. Like, how?
Right.
How? Like, it's not I lost money, I won money. It's like, it's like sometimes you just leave and you're like, wow, that's not right. Like, I just don't think they got it right. Regardless of my own interests, it's like, I don't think they got that call right.
Yeah. And at the end of the day,
I'd be up for anything new.
John Howard have to give like a single strike in this fight. John Howard has not landed a single strike in this fight against Kurmagomedov in Eagle FC.
That's rough. We're watching Eagle FC live. That's Khabib's thing. John Howard, didn't you train with him once?
Yeah, John Howard came to a wrestling class at Y Crew MMA in Brighton, Mass. Shout out John Howard. It's not looking great for him right now.
He's getting absolutely dominated by a
shout out boy though.
Somebody from Dagestan. But yeah, back into this. And it's one of those things that, like you said, and that's kind of why I wanted to bring Tim on, because it's obviously, someone slightly outside of the MMA world. And if the UFC wants to get to the levels that they want to, like, they do have to grow the sport to the wider audience.
You know what they also have to do?
As dumb others fans, it's like when there isn't a direct scoreboard, like, what's going on, and if you can't easily explain that, and if you see a razor thin fight and then you're just, everyone's confused, that's like, at the bare minimum, that's where, like, I know, and it could be worked out with Neil's idea of moving the judges to a backstage location or something, but I think there should be live scoring that not the other judges can see, but the fans should be able to see. Like, I think the judges should almost have to submit their scoring, like, round by round.
So what if it's just for all fights, not for championship fights? UFC coughs up a little more dough. And pretty much what it is, if you almost know going in, there's a potential for an extra 3-minute round if it's close. So the fighters know coming in, they can mentally prepare for that. And if it goes to a 6th round, both guys get 5K, 10K, whatever the fucking number is. You're rewarding the fighters for going to this. So you're protecting, you're giving your fighters interest to want to almost not get to this other round, but you're giving
overtime
some
bonus.
Incentive. You're giving it goes to overtime bonus. You're like, hey, if it goes to the 4th round or the 6th round, it's a 3-minute thing. You get paid out. UFC's making more money, more viewership, 3 more minutes of us all sitting there watching their shit. They take care of their fighters, which is leading into, I know, our next conversation about fighter pay, but you're paying them a little more. Why not give a 3-round? They know coming in, they know it might happen. 3-minute round to settle it. And I don't want this all the time. I don't want it it's got to be a real coin flip.
The big issue with this, and that's where I want my live scoring, is you need to have fast enough scoring to decide this draw and, like, establish this final round
within
quick
60
enough
seconds.
Within basically 60 seconds. Because if you let any fighter cool down for longer than a minute, like, that's where real, like, injury and stuff is going to happen. Like, so that's where, again, we would have to have, like, a live scoring type thing, or, like we said, where it's a full fight scoring, where it's pretty much, within the 60 seconds after the fight ends, judge says, like, win, lose, or draw. And if it's draw, keep going.
Bro, the UFC, what they really need to do, if you want to talk about sustaining a business for a long period of time, they need to start paying fighters more money. Because guess what? These young up-and-coming fighters, there was a monopoly for so long because they created the sport and everyone said it was the pinnacle. And so everyone tried to rush to get here and they all want to be here and be the champ. And that's great. But now you're seeing competition spurring up across the world. And we're even seeing UFC guys going to other promotions and it not working out. So the thought process of, is this even the best promotion in the world, is even kind of wandering out there. It's probably not true, but it's still going around. I think the UFC, if they still want to be successful in 20 years, you have to pay people more money. You have to.
Right.
There's no chance that you're going to have 3 million people buy a pay-per-view at $80 and pay a guy who's on the second fight $10K. That ain't it, Chief. There's no way that the next guy who's 17 is going to say, I want to sign with the UFC. There's just no way. They're going to say, I'm going to go to one championship, Bellator, Eagle FC, whatever the case is, and make a more steady living. It's just so hard. And yeah, the guys at the top get paid, but you have to grind in order to get there, and it's only the few and far between. We can even see Dustin Poirier. He can't even sell 1 million pay-per-views on his own. Jake Paul's dog has more followers than him on Instagram, and this dude thinks he's going to sell shit. It's just, dude, it doesn't, like, you could work so hard and still not even be a pay-per-view star. It's embarrassing. The heavyweight title fight of the world, Francis Ngannou got paid $600K.
And they tweeted twice during the
Yep.
And after he won, they did not tweet for
Brandon Moreno made
minutes?
as much money in the trilogy against Figueiredo as Francis Ngannou made in that fight against Cyril Gane. It's just embarrassing. The scale of how we're paying champions. A champion, bro, getting in a trilogy fight, only making $125,000. That's fucking rough.
Yeah.
Co-main event of a pay-per-view, that was probably helping sell it. And you're out here giving them $125,000. Yikes, dude.
It's a tough world, but I didn't expect this to turn into a history or an NFL podcast, but we let Tim on, so I should have kind of expected this, but I'm going to give us a little history lesson and why I think the UFC will end up being successful and why they will end up paying their fighters. We're going to go back to the 1990s, and up until then, the NFL had no player union, and they had very restrictive player rights, very restrictive player salary cap. Basically, when you were drafted, you were owned by that team, and they had full player rights over you, and you could basically just be extended contracts. And in that way, owners held all the cards and all the money, and they could basically pay out by pretty much position. Like, you're a receiver, I'll give you this, you get that. That's pretty much the same situation that the UFC is in now, where they're pretty much like, okay, you're on this undercard, bang. But they were the only show in town, and it was a monopoly. It was the most popular thing. It was the best. It was the only thing at that top level. Come mid-1990s, come along the USFL, and a few years later the XFL, but mainly the USFL. The USFL came in, they created free agency, and they created no salary cap. Now, this ended up being the downfall of the USFL. But what happened is they started just throwing the bag at players. Herschel Walker went there. Doug Flutie went there, among other Steve Young went there. Just top level Heisman Trophy winners, like the top college guys, the top prospects got bought by the USFL. And everyone was like, well, the NFL is screwed. All these other competitions are going to just throw the money around and they're going to, absolutely collapse all the talent in the NFL. What happened? All that money that was thrown around by these smaller organizations that didn't have the infrastructure, fan base, or just overall market share of the top dog of the NFL pretty much folded those companies. But in reaction, the NFL had to pay. Free agency got created in 1997, and from there, the salary cap has jumped up, exponentially.
Yeah,
and
remember when we
they
were looking
still
at
they still have kept a cap.
Comparison.
They still have kept a cap that is still borderline it's borderline still criminal for what the players should be making in the share of what they make, but it's higher than anyone else in the market can possibly pay. So that's all that they're going to do is everyone else is going to move it to here, and then they will just jump right here. It will be a hand that they don't want to play.
Okay.
And it will work out in the UFC's favor, but I think it will all still.
Dana White has to offer. He has to offer legally a fighter 3 fights every year. That should be, in my opinion, I don't know how this would make sense, but that should be a minimum of like 200,000. You fight 3 times, you get 200K. Like,
yeah,
that should just be like sort of the base. Like people making 10 grand for a fight, and you got to pay your coaches, your corners, your fucking gym, your fucking travel and all that.
Yeah,
how much they need to figure that out. I mean, piggybacking a little bit off what Brick said, just randomly, remember when us three were going through and seeing when the stadiums were built? All of the stadiums were built right after what Derek said. It was something crazy where like 17 stadiums were built between 1996 and like 2006. It was like all 6, more than half the teams got new stadiums right after what you said, Brick. I just wanted to piggyback off what you said was spot on as far as the NFL. Like I know a little more about that. Like all the stadiums were built after they came out with all that, or a lot of them. A lot of people remodeled. And that's
what you basically
an influx of money, TV deals.
But if they don't make a move though, and they sit there and be like, "We'll be fine. We'll just keep going where we're going," I don't think that works.
Yeah, because
you're gonna have to match the.
You have to see the model. Like the NFL's had to give. They waited as long as they could. They dragged their feet. They cried and kicked the whole way. But at some point, you have to still give. And if they, at some point, if you just dig your heels in, you will lose.
Yeah, no, I think the UFC needs to pay their fighters more because at the end of the day, that's your product. And, UFC fighters, the longevity, I mean, there's some that can make it. And don't get me wrong, the greats last. But even a guy like Khabib, like, what did he fight? 13 UFC fights? Like, I mean, and he's in GOAT talk, and he's had 13 career fights. I mean, to me, it's like, me and the boys were jokingly arguing. This is what sort of led to you can't compare individual athletes to team sports. It's like somebody was like, well, Khabib over Brady, he's undefeated. And I'm like, 7 Super Bowls in 2 years is much more impressive to me than 13-0 in the UFC. And I'm sorry, like, I'll never feel differently. Like, there's nothing anyone can say to change my mind on that. It's really, but at the end of the day, it's hard to compare. It's hard to compare, but they got to pay.
If you want to, I think the only way you could do it is say he dominated for a 4-year span, which was similar to the dominant run of X team. But other than that, you really can't compare it.
No, you can't.
It's tough. It's tough. It's a tough argument. I mean, we got purple in the face the other day. Me and a couple of the boys arguing about this. They were trying to make the argument, Khabib's never lost. How could anyone, he's never lost. And it's like, well, I can't argue that, but it's like, let's dive into the resumes, 13 fights in Russia, fighting 5 people. It was their first fight ever. And then 13 fights in the UFC, couple no names. He beat McGregor a couple times. What he did was impressive. I mean, he's an amazing tactician. I mean, he's truly impressive, but how you could compare the two, to me as a football diehard, it's laughable.
No, especially he's the last guy. He's the last guy who had one of the last true specialist. He's the last guy that had one style and only one way to really maul you, and he did it every single time. Yeah. And there was nothing you could do to stop it. And he never really tried getting into brawls and being what he wasn't. He knew what he was, and he just fucking wrote it home.
I respect that.
Yeah. I think Neil's right in it being the last, because you're even seeing it now with the top level guys like Kamaru Usman, the best wrestler in the world, boxing, and Francis Ngannou, the best boxers wrestling. Like, people are realizing that this sport's evolving to the level now of like,
he was the last true specialist, bro.
Like, you have to.
They said that about Ben Askren, and then
So, question: you guys might know this off the top of your head. How many fights in a row did Tony Ferguson win? Is it 11?
12
12
fight win streak.
He's not even close to the GOAT. I mean, I'm a Tony guy, don't get me wrong, but he's not even in GOAT conversation. The dude ripped off 12 wins in a row. The idea that Khabib just doing 13 and then retiring before anyone can beat him, it's like, to me, that just again leaves.
I don't think Khabib is the greatest of all time.
But it's tough.
I think he might have had the greatest.
John Jones,
but like I want to say that, and I agree. John Jones has the most impressive resume. I agree with you, but I hate what he's done in the last 5 or 6 years. I mean, or whatever.
That wasn't in the UFC. That wasn't in the UFC.
No. I don't care about off the court. I'm not talking off the court. Off out of the octagon. I'm not talking about that. I'm more saying like this dude keeps talking shit to all these top fighters and not doing a damn thing. That is right. At least Khabib was like, I'm done. Chirp me all you want. I'm done. I actually respect that. This whole John Jones, like, blah, blah,
I mean, he just likes cocaine and Twitter. That has nothing against the GOAT talk.
He's the greatest who ever did it, bro. He beat people at their best game.
You guys need a better GOAT.
In the height of
UFC fans, you guys need a better GOAT. There's got to be somebody. I hope
Usman. Don't worry. Don't worry. Usman's already coming. He just needs the fights.
Usman's in that class.
I hope, because right now, honestly,
Anderson
if you Khabib and John Jones, that's a gross conversation.
I mean, fuck.
It's actually crazy too. Where like, if you ask me, I don't think I put Khabib in my top 3. I think it's John Jones. I think it's John Jones, it's Anderson Silva, and it's GSP.
Mm-hmm.
Those are still the 3 names.
And I mean, some Khabib fan would argue with you till they're blue in the face saying he never lost. How could you say it? But I generally agree with you.
It's just, it's a longevity
resume,
thing.
Full resume.
Yeah.
How many fights did Silva fight in? 30? Like 40? 25?
In the UFC, probably like.
Oh, because he had a lot before with the right.
Well, because I mean, he was like Pride FC, like he was.
Dude, he'd been fighting since he was like 16, and he fought to what, mid-30s? Like he had a.
I mean, he's 45 fights. And he wants to box.
Bro, he's still boxing. He looked incredible, bro. He fought Julio Cesar Jr., bro. He fucking pieced this man, and I was like, oh, is he the greatest combat athlete of all time?
Because I loved his attitude. I mean, anybody who's confident enough to dance in the ring, I think it caught him once, if I remember correctly.
He's 34-11 on his career. It has caught him once.
But anybody who dances in the ring, I'm a fan of. Like anybody who's like,
oh yeah,
I love the showboaty shit. Like,
bro, he came into the UFC and won 16 straight fights.
That's insanity.
That's
why I'm just saying.
Chris Weidman, Michael Bisping, Daniel Cormier, Uriah Hall, Jared
I got people
Cannonier,
telling me Khabib's better than Brady. He's not even top 3 in his own sport. Get out of here.
And that's where I think that Usman has a better chance of being the GOAT, because like just his road up to the title was almost more impressive than the resume. Yeah, it wasn't all title fights, but just pure names, other than a washed up Connor, like pure names. I know I'm not saying that he didn't beat Gaethje and Poirier. Like he had his names. He had a good resume. But that wasn't until the last like 4 or 5 fights. That's it.
The resume of Anderson Silva is retarded on that run.
It's the greatest.
Chris Lieben, Rich Franklin, Travis Luter, Nate Marquardt, Rich Franklin again, Dan Henderson, Talis Leites, Forrest Griffin, Damian Maia, Chael Sonnen, Vitor Belfort, Yushin Okami, Chael Sonnen again, Stephen Bonner.
Dude, I recognize like 7 of those names. I recognize 7 of those names. So, and I was not a fan back when he was running train. So like that shows you, and that's.
I was working the night I was working at Miller's the night he KO'd Chris Weidman KO'd him, and that was like the craziest thing on planet Earth.
Yeah,
that was like insanity, bro, and that shit happened.
Yo, R.I.P. to Millers.
R.I.P. Facts. I'll toast that.
Shout out no cover UFC fights and $5 Budweiser pictures. No free ads, but I guess it's close. So I guess
there's nothing in Boston like
brought a machete. Someone brought a machete to the McGregor-Aldo fight up in there.
Jesus.
No wonder they went out of business.
Bro, I'm dead serious too. Like this is not like somebody literally walked in with a machete.
Jesus. I mean, we're just trying to get $5 pictures. Come on.
Some dude was waving around a pocket knife at the Bills game, the Patriots-Bills game. Dude, some dude gets escorted out of the 3rd row. I don't know how he afforded it. Fucking waving a pocket knife around. Just like a week ago. Security's tackling.
Ray Borg's about to fight in Eagle FC?
Ray Borg about to fight some guy, Cody Gibson, who's got like a wealth of experience.
Yeah, I mean,
Ray Borg 65-year-old hockey Ray Borg?
No, that's Ray Borg.
The Taz Mexican Devil or whatever he is, Ray Borg. This guy fought Demetrius Johnson for the title at one point. in the UFC. He was around for a long time.
He probably had 10, 12 fights in the UFC.
He was good. He's
been around. Yeah, he's a good fighter.
Facts.
But yeah, to circle back to the fighter. Oh, sorry. Go.
Nah, if you watched Moreno fucking Figueiredo, who would you have scored that fight for?
Dude, honestly,
at the end of the day, who do you think won?
Again, dude, here's my 2 points on it. One is any fight that close, I think they need to find a different way to settle it. I'll start off by saying that because it was not a clear Moreno win. I think I lean Moreno because he was the champ. And I think you got to take the belt. I think you got to take the belt. If you're going to go with the stupid judging system, at least let the champ, tie goes to the champ. If you're going to just do this, tie goes to the champ. And I thought that was a tie. And I was shocked that it was unanimous. I mean, honestly, I thought at least one person was going to give Moreno.
Yeah, I was too.
I was shocked. I wasn't shocked he lost. I was shocked it was unanimous against the champ. And again, I'm not a UFC expert. Just to the naked eye,
it was a close fight, and
I honestly thought that, if there wasn't a belt on the line, I think Figgy wins the fight slightly in a bad judging system. Like, I think he won 3 rounds, and again, I think he was a little more convincing in the 5th, and I think that does matter.
What'd you think of the main event?
To be honest with you, I was really pissed off about the Moreno thing, and I watched it because you had to tune in.
Yeah,
but I had a bad taste in my mouth. It was heavyweight championship, and honestly, and Ngannou, like, how could you not want to watch that? That's like one of those things where it's like, you see Pat Mahomes play football, not to me, or Tom Brady, like, you tune in when they play. Yeah. It's one of those, like
100%. 100%.
You tune in. Dude, 2 bad motherfuckers throwing both. I mean, what a fight. I mean, I want to hear more of you guys' take on it, to be honest with you, because you guys probably
I'm shocked.
Analytical take.
I mean, I'm big kind of shocked. Like, I didn't think that, Cyril Gane, what he does is what he did in the first 2 rounds, but for 5 rounds to everyone. He had never been taken down before. He's got incredible takedown defense, just circles around you and just strikes you until you can't move. And he did that to everybody. And it was happening to Francis because Francis had a torn ACL, it looks like, and was having a rough time. And then he was like, oh, hold up. I've got this grappling and clinch game where I can just take people down with my brute strength. And that's a whole different side of him that we've seen, because if he can start throwing punches from the top, it's a wrap for anybody in this division. He only has to touch you. It doesn't matter if it's standing outside in range or if it's on the ground. He just got to put the fist to chin. So I think this is a whole different element that makes him really scary. And it was just, I never thought I'd see Francis win a 5-round meat grinder of a fight.
That's kind of where I'm at. And now,
especially against Cyril,
I'm getting those same, and it makes a lot of sense because they're boys and they've been kind of working and bouncing ideas off them. But I'm getting kind of the same feelings I got when Usman started boxing, where it's just like, now I had almost no way for anyone to beat this guy. And this might be another old reference, but the Simpsons BattleBots episode where it's just like, oh, wow, the one weakness we knew about him is now his strength. It's now his strongest part. And it's just like, my only hope was like, okay, if you can chase him, you can burn out the gas tank, maybe wrestle a bit, maybe get him against the cage. Like, you might have a chance to beat this absolute monster. And he's like, nope, actually, I'm better than you at this. And I kind of always thought that wrestling could be a part of his game. I knew, like, wrestling is something it's very hard to teach because it's like most of the especially American wrestlers, like, they're doing that since they're 12 years old, or even in Russia, like, same thing. Like, it's more of a mentality. Yeah, it's the way you grow up. It's like little things. It's not like that's why a lot of the wrestlers have had success early in MMA is because you can have a wrestling base, and learning like boxing or striking is usually an easier thing to pick up. Right, but to go the opposite way and to see that he can do it with this absolute. Yeah, this kid does kind of look like Darren.
Wes, he got a big Darren Till vibe the way he's fighting.
Oh yeah.
So not to go historical again, you guys know that's my go-to, but I'm curious, is this the best heavyweight class we've had in a while, or not necessarily? I feel like it's deeper than I remember. I mean, I always remember there being a couple studs at the top, but like
it was It was dead for a little bit, and I mean, it used to be the peak of its fucking powers when it had like Frank Mir and Brock Lesnar and
Are we
fucking
close to that
Bigfoot
now?
Silva, Mark Hunt. We're getting there.
Yeah, I think so. Like
that
would actually be.
We had enough depth to have an interim title fight, so that kind of proves it. No,
and like we were gonna save this for MMA news later, but like a fight that I know you'd love to talk about too. So before we let you go, but. Like Derek Lewis and Tai Tuivasa just got announced. That's what, number 3 versus 5, I think. Like that's
a banger.
Absolute banger. Like that's a huge fight.
We're drinking shoeies.
And that was something that the number 3 versus 5 in the heavyweights in the last 2 to 3 years has not had that juice.
Okay, so back in the day, 10 years ago, 8 years ago, we had similar, but there was a lull, and now we're back almost.
Exactly, and that's kind of how a lot of these divisions go. It was the same thing with the light heavyweight division. That's kind of getting that thing back. I mean, as we just saw with the flyweights, 3 years ago, they were about to cancel the flyweight division. Just get rid of it.
Really?
And now we have these absolute killers like Moreno, Askarov, Pantoja, Figueiredo, Kai Kara-France, like the divisions are stacked. So these divisions sometimes go through a bit of a lull at times where it'll either get like a champ who's too dominant or just like not enough talent fed in.
Way out, though.
But it does kind of always work their way out because it's always just opportunity. So all you need is a couple Ultimate Fighters or a couple Contender Series with that weight class with some guys that want to see it. And light heavyweight has nothing. And then, oh shit, here's Yuri Prochazka, know?
Right. And not to stick with the UFC football analogies, but it's funny as a moderate fan, I love the heavyweight and light heavyweight matchups a little more than the smaller guys, because I don't know that I know enough about the sport to appreciate all the stuff that the smaller guys are doing, the striking, the grappling. A lot of these heavyweight fights are just two large men chucking fists.
Ooh.
It's almost like the equivalent.
Yeah, it's almost like almost hit him with the spinning wheel kick.
Everybody loves high-scoring NFL games. To a moderate fan, the Chiefs-Bills game was ideal. Everybody hated the Rams-Patriots Super Bowl a couple of years ago, but a real football fan can appreciate the defense. Real UFC fans like you guys can appreciate the Khabib grappling, and I'm not saying the bigger guys don't grapple, but it tends to, at least to me, that the bigger guys, it's usually a little more just bows throwing, old school bar fight.
Derek Lewis, Tai Tuivasa.
And I think the exact analogy with the NFL is it's almost like it's more the danger. It's the fact that that Pat Mahomes can score on any fucking play. That if Derek Lewis or Tai Tuivasa touches another human, like they might die, like at any moment while they're in a cage, like. And that's just different than what you're going to see.
Right. I mean, I'll be honest with you guys. When I could call myself someone who watched UFC occasionally to becoming like I said, a moderate fan or a fan,
you're a fan.
Was when Derek Lewis knocked out that Russian dude with like 8 seconds left. You never see buzzer beaters in the UFC. Dude, this big Russian dude's got to beat. And the announcers are pretty much like, Derek Lewis is done. And this dude just finally connects. Bang! Down goes the Russian. My balls are sweaty. You did it for you. Like blah blah blah. God bless America. I was like, this is entertainment. This is some shit I would tune into. Like we need more of that. So I think I came in liking the bigger guys because of stuff like that, where you don't see a knockout.
I mean, Tai Tuivasa doing a shoey after a fight.
Nobody's getting knocked out 8 seconds left in the flyweight. I mean, they could, but it's not. Has it happened? I don't know. It seems less likely to me. I'm not saying it's impossible, but the big guys, dude. You never, like you said. Mahomes can score on any play. Derek Lewis can knock you out at any second.
Yeah.
Now,
there's still something like talking about last weekend. There's still something. The words "heavyweight champion of the world" means something so fucking different than anything else. Welterweight champion is sick. Flyweight champion is sick. The heavyweight champion of the world is the baddest man in the fucking club.
Because Ngannou would eat every champ's lunch. He would eat every single champ's lunch.
As we're seeing with Jake Paul, if you fight people 20 pounds lighter than you
win. And when the fights are rigged, but that's a different story. Regardless, what I was gonna say was the coming back not to the Khabib thing, but these guys. These undefeated guys, these guys who come in and dominate, like what do you guys think when it's like, does a loss tarnish your resume as much as some, I hear a lot of people be like, undefeated.
Yes.
Floyd, does a loss tarnish your resume as much as it sounds?
It depends.
Yes.
Who, where,
depends who it is, how you lost.
Right. So Jake Paul beating Tyron Woodley. Tyron Woodley's legacy is forever tarnished. Forever. Right. Nobody will ever give a fuck that he was a 5-time UFC welterweight champion.
Yeah.
No one will care. And that's tarnished. But like Tony Ferguson losing to Gaethje, that didn't tarnish his legacy of the 12-fight win streak. Even his loss to Oliveira.
It's almost like you have to earn your losses before and after.
Right.
That's what I almost think in the UFC. And that's what I like about the UFC, kind of like I was saying before with the 11 months for Josh Allen kind of analogy. Like if Brandon Moreno comes back out, and even if he doesn't fight Figgy in 3-4 months, if he goes out and murders Askarov and then is knocking on the door for a title again, he's back and it doesn't really matter. And hey, you got screwed. Like it is what it is. And it'll always come out in the wash. You know what I mean? Like, unless someone gets screwed in basically their last fight, and at that point, usually on your career, like very few people are retiring in a title fight. Right. You know what I mean? So I don't think at that point, like losses really, you stack them up. Obviously.
You know what's something in the UFC that I'm actually curious on you guys' opinion on this, that I respect the absolute hell out of, win or lose. Adesanya going up and fight in a different weight class. I've dominated my weight class. You know what? I'm going to try something. Yeah, he lost. And he deserved to lose. But I respect the fuck out of anyone who's willing to do that. Anyone who's a double champ in 2 weight classes, I don't care what anyone says, that is way more impressive to me than winning 13 matches in 1 division. What's the dude's name? Cueto. He was a double champ, right?
Cejudo.
Yeah.
Henry Cejudo, who's actually
I can't
the announcer right now on Eagle FC. Him and Chael Sonnen are the 2 play-by-play.
Dude, how do you not respect a double champ, dude? He's going up, especially, going down a weight class. I respect it because it's showing you're versatile. But someone who's willing to dominate a weight class and then try to put on weight and go up and fight bigger guys.
Yeah.
Ultimate respect. When Adesanya lost that fight, I was, I had ultimate respect for him for trying. He won.
I want Cejudo to come back and fight Volkanovski at 45. I don't care what Dana says. That he's skipping the line. He says nobody sits on the bench for 3 years and comes back and just gets a title shot. GSP did the exact same thing. Up weight class, he went from 170 to 85 after being out 9 years. Yep.
So let's see him say no when the money comes in. When the money comes in, and that's an option.
I want Volkanovski Cejudo. That's the fight I want.
Yeah, if Adesanya pulled that off, that would have been the most impressive thing, because that is the tougher thing. It's easier to go. First off, going up, and in the lower weight classes, it's only a 10-pound difference. Cejudo did 25 and 35. That's a lesser of a jump from 185 to 205. That's a 20-pound jump. That's a whole different ballgame. And especially how we know that, and especially how we know with how weight.
He was the lightest light heavyweight of all time.
You know that light heavy, he coming in at 205, but he walking around at 225. So now we're talking about a 30, 40-pound difference.
Ultimate respect for him even trying, because he put his undefeated resume, undefeated in the UFC, right? Resume before that.
Oh yeah,
bro. Yeah, he was
in the UFC.
He was 202 pounds.
The dude's got balls. Oh, yeah. I mean, again, so that's why I asked the question about the loss thing, because it's I feel like it depends on the loss. You know what I mean?
And I think that's a thing in the UFC too, and I think the fans pick up on it, where if you're an active fighter and you'll fight basically anybody on any terms, losses don't hurt as much. Look at Dan Hooker. Everyone still loves Dan Hooker, and he's still getting big spots, because it's hey, he's won some big fights, he's lost some big fights, but he's taken any fight that's been given to him. Bro, but some other guys who have only fight twice a year.
Wait, Dan Hooker's Nolan's older brother, right?
Yeah. That's my boy.
Oh, yeah. I thought so.
Yeah.
First cousin? Was it first cousin?
Oh, Ray Borg firing off on this guy right now. Holy shit.
Damn, Ray Borg. Ray Borg was always an impressive fighter, because kind of in your way of, like you said, kind of impressive of the size thing. Ray Borg, I don't think has ever been taller than the guy he's fought. He's had like 6 inches of height given up in every fight he's ever had. Like he's
another
just
reason
a
why
little
I like our boy
bulldog
Henry.
wrecking ball.
You know, I don't like him because he runs his mouth, but I respect Henry.
Now he's been a little more tamed since he's retired.
Because he was so small, dude. I just respect. You know, it's like a guy who I'm sure he fought shorter guys than him, but most of the time he was giving up height and reach in almost all of his fights, and the dude just found a way to win. It's like you can dislike the guy, but you almost got to respect it. Like even 10 pounds, he's still changing weight classes. And fuck, when he went up to 135, I mean, almost everybody in there was bigger, taller than him, longer reach, and he still found ways to get wins. And like that, you got to respect that.
His comeback against Marlon Moraes, that is a crazy fight. If you've never seen that, he fights Marlon Moraes for the belt. It was it's when Dillashaw popped, so it was a vacant belt, and these two fought. And the first round was all Moraes, and he was lighting him up on the feet. And then Cejudo literally flipped the game plan and just like became the aggressor and just put it on him and finished him in round 2. It's an all-time great fight.
Yeah. Well, before I head out and let you guys finish all this, I just want to say thanks for having me on. Always love getting a little more information about the UFC. You guys are slowly teaching me, and I'm slowly learning, and I'm figuring out, a lot of things, and having you guys, give me these breakdowns and show me and talk about it. It does, make me want to be a fan more. I want to see the UFC just do a little more and be willing to change, because everything in life you got to change a little bit to make it better. Nothing's perfect. So
that's
they have a great product, they got to make it better.
That's exactly where I wonder with like a guy like Dana White, running the show, who I love, and I love that he is kind of like, hey, I'm going with my gut, like I've got us here and everything. But at some point you have to understand, like, conceding something isn't always losing. It's not always a battle with everything. It's like, if you're conceding something for the greater good of your sport, your fans, your fighters, your product, your just long-term goals, like, it's not really a concession. It's just like, it's progress. It's the next step in your business. Like, now you're not just like something on Spike TV. Like, this is a bigger thing. Like, you got that ESPN money. We're paying fucking $70 a fucking, or 75 now, or whatever the fuck ESPN wants to charge now. Like, you got to share some of that wealth. You can't have fighters who are training for 3-4 months, paying coaches and shit, make 10 G's. Like, shit, you'll make more of that on your fucking one sale on your sales job. Like, what are we doing here?
That's what I'm saying. It's crazy. So UFC got a lot of good things, to be excited about, but I think we still got to have some changes to make it really, take it to the next level. Almost like you said, the NFL in the late 90s, they need that stuff. And, I'm not knocking Dana. What he's done is amazing, but maybe it's a change in leadership at some point that pushes it over. The NFL's had 6 or 7 commissioners over the years. Maybe it's someone who just,
and even kind of in the same way,
new fresh ideas. Dana seems a little stubborn.
We've been at this an hour.
For good or for bad. Maybe he's protecting the integrity of the sport. What do I know? But it seems like it might not hurt for to adapt some new ideas.
No doubt. But
I
appreciate all your hot takes. I'm glad you're only going to stop in for a quick segment. That was a cool hour, but appreciate it. We got a few more things to recap and get into, but
pray for me. 4 feet of snow. Pray for everybody in Boston. Peace out, boys.
All right,
screw that.
Oh, Ray Borg possibly going for the finish. Final minute of the fight. Let's get it. Hop in, lock in. Hey, here we go.
Ray Borg about to kill our ad read, but let's finish this up. All right, he went back to the top.
Oh, shit. Got a little top game pressure here from Ray Borg fighting Gibson on the bottom.
A problem right now, but there's only 45 seconds left in the third round. Let's see if he can finish it here.
Okay, Gibson survived. Oh, Ray Borg going ham. Big time lefts. Now he's about to take the back.
Do you know what the knee
back
rolls or anything?
Back mount. There's no. I've seen. There's no knees to the grounded opponent. I believe it's UFC rules.
Okay.
And in Russia, in the Russian events, could be different. I can't confirm on that.
But at least in the U.S.,
Ray Borg in full mount, trying to get his left hand free to rain down punches here. Dominant position from Ray Borg.
Now he's throwing elbows. Oh, trying to roll into an armbar, but he gives up the position.
Oh, big time.
Last top position for Gibson, but I don't think he's going to have enough time.
Oh, up kick. That hurt him.
Hey now.
Ruining
All
the
right,
set. Sorry.
throwing off the lighting and everything. Let me fix that real quick.
Yeah,
You actually want to fix that while I hit an ad read? No Judges Necessary is sponsored by Earth Sugar Confectionaries. It's the first of its kind superfood based right out of here in Phoenix, Arizona. It specializes in raw organic desserts, energetic snacks, and clean label confections and adaptogenic pantries. We do have a promo code for you. Use promo code NOJUDGES to get 25% off all Earth Sugar products at loveearthsugar.com. Check out, they're going to have a few new flavors with their Crispies, micro cakes, and their energy bars. All this shit is awesome. That's basically all I've been eating. It's replaced all of my snacks. So,
this shit's fire. You're like, vegan candies, vegan desserts. The hell is this? You eat it, you can't taste the difference. It's fucking crack, and it's good for you. So it marks all the check boxes, and it's not too pricey. So let's get this money. Loveearthsugar.com. Tell them No Judges sent you, and you get some money off. Now let's get this bread. Let's talk one championship, fam. So I'm going to be straight up real. I didn't see shit on this fight, but I do kind of understand what some of these fights meant to the divisions. So I want to hear a live reaction because honestly, I only know who won one fight. So I want to hear you be like, yo, this guy beat that guy, and me be like, ooh. And then let's move on.
Well, since we're in the trust tree and we're doing honesty, I woke up a little later than I wanted. I mean, I put later in quotation marks because it was about 6 a.m. here in Arizona. But for one championship cards, that was a little late. But luckily, I looked at what I missed. Didn't miss a whole much on the lead card. Missed one decision on the main card. And then from the moment that I turned it on, the last four fights were nothing but nonstop action. So I'm real excited to hop into it.
All right, let's go.
First one we had, Hiroki Tetsuka. This dude fought Edson Marquez.
Okay,
this was a really good fight. Yeah. Edson Marquez looked a little more technical early. And then Tetsuka kind of started putting him on it in the second round. Marquez was getting in some tough positions. Marquez kept getting takedowns and then going for kind of submission over position. Never really got anything going offensively. And then in the third round, Tetsuka just put his fucking lights out.
Clean?
Oh, yeah.
Like it was just like, yo, hey, now we here. Wham!
Hit him like a left cross on the counter.
No shit, huh?
Yeah, folded him.
Yo, that's kind of the vibe that I get from this Tetsuka guy. Is that he just kind of lulls you to sleep until some random shit and then wham.
Yeah.
And even if submissions, random game, I like what this guy's about. I've seen him fight only a couple times. What weight class is he?
This is a welterweight.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so I think that I was kind of leaning that I thought Marquez, if he just put it like enough together, just touched him, point fighted him in the third round, he could have won that fight. So Tetsuka didn't put together like the most full performance, but you find a way, especially in the third round, to get that knockout. That's always impressive. So I was excited to see that. Next fight, this one. As we've talked about in one championship, they have kickboxing and Muay Thai. This might be my new favorite heavyweight kickboxer. Rade Opicic, Serbian dude. This dude is a killing machine.
We've seen him fight MMA. Why do I feel like he fought Rugrug and got rocked?
Did he?
I feel like he's like been around, bro.
Let me check on this.
Because this guy's something else. I'm kind of with you on this. I'm kind of
looks like he's 4-0 in kickboxing and won championship, lifetime Muay Thai and kickboxing 16-5. So
maybe it was someone else I'm thinking of.
The only other time we've seen him fight
Patrick Smith. When he was supposed to fight Smith.
Patrick Smith.
And Smith was the guy who fought Rugrug. Okay,
correct.
I'm tripping. All right, sorry. I don't mean to get you off, but I do like this guy. Go on.
Yeah, Rade Opicic, this dude, his combos and body shots. We're talking vicious body shots. He put it on him. He was really kind of touching him.
Oh, I'm seeing it right here. Yeah. Oh, yeah.
He was touching him up in the first round.
Right to the liver,
Come the second round, it was literally just a 1-2.
We're talking
and
3-minute rounds, right? 3-minute rounds?
Huh? Yeah. 3-3-minute rounds.
That's chaos. He had 3-3-minute rounds. It's chaos.
Which I didn't know the rule, but learned it today in kickboxing. If you get 3 knockdowns in a round, the fight's over. That's considered a TKO.
Yes.
And that's what Rane
Same with Muay Thai.
did with that. Okay. I didn't know
Or
that.
at least in the one rule set, I'm almost positive.
Got it.
Yeah, because Rod Tank beat Haggerty by doing that.
Right.
He dropped him 3 times in a round.
But it was vicious. He dropped him 2 out of the 3 times he dropped him.
Ooh, Rashad Evans coming up. Co-main event, Eagle FC. What we doing?
Ooh, okay. I see.
Rashad Evans fighting this guy named Chico. Don't know much about him. Apparently he's like a submission ace, making his debut. I'm curious about this Eagle FC because they're sitting here being like, yo, we got the 165 division. That's fucking chaos. I mean, I wonder what they're about, but let's keep going. We're going to find out as they go live.
Yeah.
What was the next fight? Yeah, what was the next fight that got you off the gills?
So, Zhang Peng.
Okay.
It's going to take me about as long to say his name and introduce the fight, and the fight's over. This fight was 36 seconds. It was hilarious. So, Rich Franklin, first 28 seconds, nobody threw a punch. They were just kind of squaring up, and Rich Franklin and the I forget the name of the play-by-play guy. We're literally like, hey, it's kind of a slow start to a fight, and then his opponent, sorry, let me get the name right. Ruslan threw one left hand. He threw one right hand.
I'm seeing it.
And Zhang Peng just literally counter left, and his lights were out. He threw another right for good measure, but this dude went to absolute sleep. Like, the fight was over before it started. It was a very clean knockout. And he called out your boy, Sexyama? Akiyama? The Japanese fighter. Okay. So that was a pretty big call out. I think that'll be a top 5 fight. So excited to see what Zhang Peng has. Like, when you see that kind of power, it always excites you, but you also want to see, like, what can he do in a full fight. And then moving into the last 2 fights, these were the featherweight World Grand Prix semifinals, and Shinji Alizaz took on
Smokin' Joe. Yo, Smokin' Joe Natsuwa, been around for ages. Legend of the kickboxing and Muay Thai realm. This guy, Shinji Alizaz, literally beast him. Bro, Chingiz Alizov is on fire. This is the guy we got to watch out for. His counter-striking ability is unreal, and he proved it again. It's that ability to be in range, throw 1-2, step back, and bam, right over the top. You just can't touch him. And that's what finished it. Look at this. Look, 1-2-3 combination, back out, bam, Donto. You're done. And it's so clean. It's so perfect.
He just gets you off balance and then just fires. But that's going to be a really interesting final for him in the Grand Prix, because he is taking on an absolute legend in the sport. City Chai beat David Kirira. He absolutely put on a clinic. This was a 3-round just dismantling.
Really?
It was the classic City Chai type fight where he just stayed that little bit out of range. Every single fight, every single punch that he tried to throw, every kick he tried to throw, he just slipped it and then threw a combo back. He just, for 3 rounds, just put on an absolute clinic. So you probably would have liked to see him finish it, but especially in a Grand Prix, like, all it is get the win and put on a show. And that's what Sidichai did, as he has done time and time again.
Oh, yeah.
Like, you're seeing the head kick he threw in the 3rd round?
I'm seeing the head kick.
Yeah, that was brutal. He got a real
Sidichai's a problem.
Knockdown. And
am I getting this right? Elbows are illegal in kickboxing fights, and that's the difference in Muay Thai?
No.
Elbows are illegal.
I think there are elbows.
I don't think there's elbows in kickboxing, but
maybe
there's not. I'm almost positive there's not one. It's either knees or elbows. One of them's not allowed.
Knees are legal. I know that. I watched it.
All right, well, whatever.
Yeah.
But all in all, good card.
Yeah, great card. Honestly, it was electric. And as we always say, because we talk about it on these podcasts, they're on YouTube. So if you want to go back, watch these fights, watch the walkouts, everything was awesome. So
cool.
Definitely think those last fights were worth the watch.
Let's go.
And then we got some MMA news.
Yup.
Let's talk about it.
MMA news recently. Well, first thing that comes to mind, I know it's kind of random for me. It just jumps to the front of my brain here. Jeremy Stephens getting released by the UFC. No longer part of it. 34 fights for the little heathen. Legend of the sport from the WEC days, I believe. And also, he knocked out Rafael Dos Anjos years ago. He's been around. He's just been that guy. Done? No, he's fighting in PFL. That's the rumors on the street that he signed with the Professional Fight League to get, I think he's the kind of guy at this stage of his career that if he can rack off 4 wins in a row while in the playoffs, he deserves $1 million. And I think he's banking on that.
Right.
And I think he can do that against just about anyone in the world. Will he do it? I don't know, but he has the capability to do so. It's an interesting signing. I kind of like it. I see why the UFC is moving on. A part of me is just sad that who the fuck is this guy? He's gone, I just won't care about his fights and he won't, I don't know.
Yeah, I'm curious, especially how you said PFL, if more fighters, a little quicker in their careers, before you go on that 3 or 4 fight skid or that, 2-6 kind of record, that tough stretch in the UFC. I wonder if they will jump over to more of a PFL where if I go 2-3 in the regular, or 3-1 in the regular season, I can mix into the playoffs, win a couple fights, win $1 million.
What I would do if I'm an amateur fighter right now, right? Hear this out. This is just a rant because we're on the pod.
Mm-hmm.
I would 1000% take this path. I would pick whatever gym I feel most comfortable, most at home in whatever city, and I would start building up an amateur career in about 2 to 3 disciplines for sure. Probably jiu-jitsu and boxing. And I might mix in Muay Thai. And I would try to get about 20 amateur fights in each one. Okay? And then I would turn pro based off that performance with LFA. LFA would promote the hell out of my fights. Shit, I might even be able to get a couple amateur MMA fights on the LFA promotion. First fight of the night. Then I turn pro. I get to about 3 to 4 wins, ideally. Right? I'm signing with PFL for 1 season. I'm going through a whole season of PFL. And then after that, I think if I go undefeated and win the belt, you cash out $1 million at that point. That's when you make your move to the UFC.
Yeah, I don't hate that.
And guess what? Because the PFL, I think, is the best place for you to learn how to lose. Right. Because it's we go come back, we have another fight. And then when you do get to the UFC, let's say you boof your first fight. Well, now you've handled the loss. You understand how to come back. I just think that's the right play. I think that's
a big mental structure, kind of how you said it, where they have another fight. Because, there's so many people who come into the UFC and have that, nervousness.
And then you'll understand your worth
if you lose one fight, you're out, or, you're just scared.
You'll have a better understanding on how the game works. You'll have some money in your pocket. You'll be able to fucking, demand your price.
Yeah. Get the proper training, get the proper nutrition.
Right, get the right.
Be ready to be at the top level.
Correct. I would try to be 4-0 and get in that shit and go ham for the first season of the PFL. That seems very logical. All these people trying to be 3-0 and get to the Contender Series. It's sure, your name going to be on the map, but is that the best strategy? You got to talk about some longevity and building a name.
And especially,
I'd rather come into the UFC with 50,000 followers on Twitter than 3-0 off the Contender Series. I don't care what you tell me.
And shit, how we're seeing it right now, you're going to make money off your name and what you're paid and stuff. So if you are just one of these Contender Series guys, it's just hopping into the UFC, not ready and making 10K, fucking worth it. I'd rather build up my name, build up my following, and be someone like a Patty Batty or someone who comes in with a half a following and, and they have to pay for you. But other MMA news, I think we mentioned it, but Dan Hooker's going to fight Arnold Allen. Allen getting his first taste of the big lights in a main event. I think that's going to be an absolute scrap.
Arnold Allen's coming in winning 8 straight fights or whatever it is.
Yeah, and this is going to be a very interesting fight for him because I think this is finally when you get to that big boy table and when you hit a guy with your best shot that's hurt a lot of other guys on your road there, and he's still standing there. And what do you do then? And that's kind of what determines, like, are you a big boy? Are you a champ? Like,
Facts.
And Dan Hooker's not going
to. No, he's for sure gonna be at the big dog table. It's just also on the flip side of it, you got to think Dan Hooker now fighting like 9 straight killers in a row. It's just like, damn, another one. Like, fuck. I know it's maybe got a Nasrat Hakparas feel to it or whatever that guy's name is, but you're still got to go out and execute. So no, it's a good fight. I'm not hating on that. I'm just saying, like, from the Dan Hooker side, it's like, fuck, another killer. Like, this ain't no easy fight for him.
Oh, no doubt. I mean,
and I know as much as it feels like the other fight is what I'm trying to say, it's not. Like, this is a good fight. But Rashad Evans against Chico kicking off here.
This is wild that we're seeing Rashad Evans right now.
Yeah, and he's got like a Yuri Prohaska looking man bun.
Yeah, there's some like beach biker shorts. Like, dude looks like he's pulling up to Miami Beach right now.
For like a weird promotion, though, it's not bad.
No. Let's see if he still got hands. Still walking dudes down like he used to.
Yeah, let's see if he unleashes on this guy. Oh, what else we got in some MMA news?
I mean, we talked about it a little bit with Tim, but Tai Tuivasa, Derek Lewis is coming up.
Yeah, it's a banger.
Yuri Prohaska is fighting. He just got announced against Glover, right?
Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah, I think that's in February or March.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's a realistic fight. That's the one that makes sense. Glover to share against fucking Prohaska.
Yeah, that was one of those we knew was going to happen, but
glad to hear it.
That whole division, I'm just so interested because
it's going to be a round robin.
I think it's just, I think everyone's going to fight everyone, and given the night, anyone can beat anyone. And it's going to be interesting because, like, if Glover wins the belt and keeps the belt, like, he could go on a run.
Takedown by Rashad Evans.
It's also scary with a guy who's, like, older, like, in that division. Like, if he loses in that round robin at any point, does he get left out from the table?
Oh, probably.
But I think he's okay with that. Like, hey, I'm the champ. I'm going to make this run, and whatever happens, happens. Like, I like that.
We're hopping into some Bellator?
Yeah, let's do it. First off, got to give some love to our other presenting sponsor, Costa Clothing, Matty P's favorite brand. He's not here today, but no problem. No Judging Necessary is presented by Acosta Clothing, the hottest streetwear and high fashion brand coming out of the Bay Area, California. They specialize in a range of quality backpacks and accessories. Acosta Clothing has been worn by some of the top MMA fighters such as Dom Cruz, Mean Hakeem Dawodu, and Ray Waters. You can find them at AcostaClothing.com or on Instagram at Acosta Clothing. But yeah, let's get into it. We got a rather important Bellator card. Those words don't usually come out of my mouth, but it's in our home city of Phoenix, Arizona, and I think we got a couple of fights that we want to talk about.
Yeah, let me pull up Tapology here. Rashad Evans in top control here. A little full guard play going on against Chico.
Ooh,
not a bad
nice
scrap. He actually he tossed him down and was maybe in like full mount, but this guy used his jits game. Apparently, Chico's got a great jits game, so I don't like that they're sitting in full guard. But
he could be kind of comfortable from his back here,
Yeah, he could just be lurking him to sleep. Bam, triangle.
Definitely. I mean, personally, all I want to talk about on the Bellator card is the co-main and the main event. If you got anything else,
I ain't got nothing else to really talk about. I mean, we got Benson Henderson, who is 28-11 out of the USA, taking on Islam Mamedov, 21-1 out of Russia. We're talking, it's a 3x5 round co-main event.
Yep. Yeah. So
okay, I'm tripping. I always think 3x5 it'd be like, it's a 5-rounder.
No, that's 3 5-minutes.
Correct.
So just a normal 3-round co-main event. I think that does bid well.
Why does this shit spark you? What you got on this?
I mean, honestly,
it's just Benson Henderson, the name, like,
correct.
Fans,
like
how we
Benson Henderson is a guy who, first off, was obviously a staple of the UFC when I first became a fan, and when I was first moving out to Arizona. He's been at MMA Lab, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's been at the MMA Lab in Phoenix forever, so he's always kind of just been that, like, sort of hometown kind of fighter. Fighting out of Phoenix always just makes me, want to root for him. So he is fighting kind of a home fight. I think that gives him a puncher's chance, but Islam Mamedov is going to be a problem. He actually did cut his teeth in PFL, kind of with that nail kind of structure. His last fight in PFL was a draw. Then he went over to UAE Warriors for one fight, Bellator for one fight, kind of navigating the 2020, 2021 kind of scenario. Now he's back to Bellator. And if he doesn't underestimate Benson Henderson, I do think Islam's probably going to sort of dominate this fight. What do you got on it?
Yeah, I think he's definitely going to dominate this fight. Although you got to think that Benson Henderson, has he beaten Brent Primus? Or Brent Primus?
Sure. You got his resume.
So Brent Primus beat Benson Henderson, and this guy Mamedov beat Brent Primus by split. So that doesn't give me a whole lot of information to work with, and I know the math doesn't check out. I do expect it to be a close fight. At the end of the day, I just think this Russian guy is going to have top control, and that's what's going to matter.
Right. Yeah, I mean, even the Barstool Sportsbook's giving him almost no chance. Minus 455 for Mamedov. If I get drunk enough on Saturday, I might throw a couple hometown bucks on Benson Henderson, plus 325, but I wouldn't advise the fans at home. And then you want to get into the main event?
Yeah, the main event's interesting, bro. Mostly because I don't know what to expect. We got Ryan Bader, 28-7 out of the USA, taking on Valentin Moldavsky, 11-1 out of Russia. The interim champ in Moldavsky taking on the current champ in Bader. Yeah, I'm very interested in this fight. I don't know what to expect from this Russian. Only loss was to Amir Aliakbari by split decision. He was former title challenger in one championship. So he's beaten the likes of Linton Vessel, Tim Johnson, Roy Nelson. I don't know. I just don't know what to expect from this guy, and I just smell like this is a spot where Ryan Bader loses to like an interim champ.
Yeah, this spot honestly
very much
does
feels
terrify
like Ryan
me.
Bader in like his hometown boofs it.
Yeah, I mean, I have to. I'm an ASU grad. Ryan Bader, ASU wrestling, so I'm going to definitely just sell myself of like the ASU wrestling program is good enough that we can hold off the Dagestani wrestling. And if we can't, we could be in trouble. And that's probably why we're a plus 200 underdog with Ryan Bader. But I still think he has a hit. I mean, he's the champ in Bellator for a reason. He's still very legitimate in this division. I do think it's just a harder way.
Chico going for a leg lock on Rashad Evans.
Ooh.
Oh, fuck. All right, it's not in. It's
no,
not
he's
in.
past the knee.
Well, nice little shot there, though.
Yeah.
Right in the chest.
Yeah, this guy's Chico's definitely more comfortable off his back. It's like Rashad took him down, and he likes that dominant position. He wants to throw those bows, but that could be dangerous. Oh. But now he's into crucifix.
Oh, reverse crucifix. Oh, Lord.
Chico's got the cage, so he's able to at least kick out of the crucifix, but now we're back into side control. Yeah, I think he had the feet in the cage.
Okay. Shit's popping off, eh?
Right. I mean, I don't have much more on Ryan Bader, so I'm down to just kind of ride out this fight.
Yeah, I'm down to ride out the rest of these fights. We're in the second round, 2:43, running off the clock. We got Rashad Evans and Chico.
He's trying to work back to that crucifix position, pin that arm.
Yep. Now he's going to take the back.
Yep,
here he goes.
Up the back. I mean, Rashad still just got power in them hands. Ooh, big bow.
Okay, Chico getting to his feet, trying to shoot for a double leg here, getting proper stuff.
Just throwing it out there, Rashad Evans was always one of my favorite fighters to fight with on the first UFC game.
Oh, yeah, he was everybody's. Oh, nice takedown.
So
leg trip from behind
because,
for Chico.
Can Chico do something here? Oh, now Chico's got that dominant position.
Yep, got him leaned up.
He's got to get him away from the cage here. If you can drag him all the way from the cage, I think Chico can kind of go to work. But he's still got a minute 45 to work on the clock, so definitely got time. I was going to say Rashad doesn't want to give up his back, but
looks like Rashad's somehow going to turn weird scramble. Rashad might turn into full mount here.
Yeah, wow.
He's got to watch out for ankle lock.
Yeah.
Uh-oh.
Don't get that leg picked.
Uh-oh.
So at least pass the knee for now. Ooh, that's a big shot on the entry. But that leg's still in trouble.
Here goes Chico looking for it. Uh-oh.
I don't know.
Could this be the end here?
These leg locks and like heel hooks and everything are so like hard because it's like I'm not a jiu-jitsu guy enough to like know it where it's like are you good or you not, and then it's from like, oh, you think he's good to like, oh, every ligament in his knee just ripped up.
Chico's still on this. He's looking for this now. This might be a threat. 40 seconds to go. Rashad Evans got to do something here. 2 hands on the mat, not fighting legs.
Again,
figure 4 for Chico. Can he finish this shit?
I think his knee's past it, so I think he's fine here.
Yeah,
honestly.
but
unless he can get the calf slicer, but like I don't think that's
Rashad's shorts are falling down. Ref's pulling up Rashad's shorts, his trunks. Oh my God. Fight resumed. Craziness. 16 seconds to go. 15, 14. Here we go. Final stretch of the second round. Can this guy finish it?
Oh, and he slips out. See if he can get one more big one from the top. Tries for the up kick, kind of missed that. One more elbow for him.
That's a round. Damn. We're going to the third.
Rashad Evans' gas tank looks a lot better than I thought it was going to.
Like, this ain't a great fight, but it ain't bad.
Yeah.
Like
even when it's been on the ground, it's been pretty active.
Yeah, like, I'm down. Like, I think there's if this is just gonna be like, hey, like average guys are gonna put on like average fights, like I'm down.
Right. And I'm not gonna judge Eagle FC off one card.
No.
But what I'll say so far, like, is it gonna change the world of fighting, as Khabib's kind of alluded to? I doubt it. Will I throw on these fights and maybe throw a few bucks on them if I can?
Yo, we've had Tyrone Spong in the main event, too?
I'm down.
All right, let's get it. Tyrone Spong. Let's get a fucking electric chair. Live reaction, bro. Tyrone Spong by KO, fam. Ba, ba, ba.
Let's see if we can get some lines here.
Ba, ba, ba. You already know what it be. Can I get a splash? We're just chilling here, fam. What the hell just happened?
I think
we got a nut shot in the first 5 seconds.
The Eagle. See, they do this a lot with the kind of lower level promotions.
They pull it at the start of the fight
start of the card. I noticed that with LFA. Bro. They've done it with Bellator. It's so weak. It's like, I don't know. I want to like bet it on the walkout, or like when they're talking about it, like leading up, or if I hit this
short elbow for Rashad, could have done it. Guys, Turtle got Chico down. Oh no! Could this be the end for Chico?
He's recovered. Oh, he's got another leg.
God,
he keeps trying to snap these legs.
Right when you think Rashad Evans about to roll into full mount, and he's got a knee in the middle of his legs, this guy just slipped it to a knee lock or a lock of some kind here. We almost got a figure 4. Yep, he's got the figure 4 in the back of the leg of Rashad Evans. Rashad Evans clearly holding.
I was going to say, is that legal in this shit?
Blatantly obvious.
Like,
Vance is clearly holding on to the cage right now, and he spins out and side control. You got to say, veteran move. I mean, ref can't look at everything, right? Eyes can't be everywhere, right? Like,
I guess.
I mean, that was bad, though.
Right. Rashad's just still, I mean, his wrestling was always good, but
no, he still got it like that. You see that with older guys, right? Because you want to stay in shape when you're out the game at like, late 30s or whatever, early 40s. Right. But it's like
you're probably just not doing as many boxing classes.
Yeah, you're not doing sparring sessions anymore, blood, but you want to sit there and, mess around on the ground game, do a little wrestling practice, do a little jiu-jitsu work. Like,
right.
That's just
kind
fun,
of roll
yo.
and stuff.
Yeah,
just to work.
You don't got to take it that too serious. And you
Right.
can do it almost every day and like kind of go hard at it.
And when you're that high level of a fighter, like you can pick up things pretty well, you know. Learn a thing or two.
I'll be right back.
All right, Rashad taking the back now. Now raining some hella shots from the top and a nice knee to the body. I mean, those are some of the most vicious shots that I think no one talks about in MMA. Is those just knees to the body, especially when this guy's in like kind of a mounted, almost wrestling position. Like, I can't imagine being on my knees and just taking a knee to the ribs. Like, that's just going to shut down everything. Like, you accidentally bang your rib off the island or off the table. Like, your day's over. Your weekend's over. Like, I do not want to take a Rashad Evans knee. All right, now he's reversing back to side control here. He's really been trying to lock in that crucifix, but hasn't quite been able to pin down the arm. He's trying to pass it through, but every time he does, this dude just keeps locking up a leg, whether he's doing it with a leg lock or he's kind of getting that calf slicer. But Rashad back to kind of a quarter mount, but got his leg trapped, so he can't really posture up here. Still throwing a couple rabbit punches in there. But, another knee. Kind of stuck in a tough position here. Rashad's trying to extend, and he breaks out of it again. He had the other leg to kind of push off the back of the calf there. Back into the full mount. Looks like Checo's trying to pull guard. Yo, I don't know what's up with these Rashad Evans biker shorts, but this dude's pants just can't stay up. Like, the ref has had to try to do it. Looks like Chico could try to be working in a triangle here from the bottom.
Yeah, possible triangle, Chico. Now he's very well safe here.
Yep. It's just one of those things that, like, even if Rashad isn't a top level jiu-jitsu guy, he's just seen everything in the cage. You know, like, there's nothing that Chico can really throw at him at this point that he hasn't seen.
Up kick.
I mean, maybe an up kick. You didn't see that one coming, but
10
Rashad
seconds
does
to
well
go.
to get right back into that. 10 seconds to go.
Yeah, and final clap just went.
That'll do it. Pretty dominating performance by Rashad Evans. And honestly, a much better gas tank. When I heard about this fight, I thought it was going to be kind of a, we'll see some action out of him for the first 5, maybe 7 minutes. And then you see that clear, like, loss of volume, loss of aggression. And yeah, he committed to his wrestling game, but he definitely, stayed active on the ground. Chico was always digging for those submissions. He was changing positions. He was really working for it. So very impressive by Rashad. You got anything else? Is there another fight on this card?
What?
There another fight on this card? Or
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I'm pretty sure the fucking main event, Tyrone Spong versus what's his name? What is this Eagle dog shit, bro?
Once the betting lines were closed, I just assumed there was no fights.
Bro. Sergey Karatanov against Tyrone Spong. Tyrone Spong, former legend in the K1 world, crazy kickboxer, had one of the best, had the world's hardest punch for the longest time. And then he had a crazy fight back in like 2014 where I believe he like broke his neck or something stupid.
Oh,
and he was out for a long time. And I think this is his first fight in a while. I could pull him up on Tapology, but like he's fought MMA before, not like a whole ton though, but like this is what he's coming back with.
Dang.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's get a stat check on this guy.
Let's get a good old Tapology on Tyrone Spong.
Got him right here.
Yeah, King of the Ring, Tyrone Spong.
Fighting out of Suriname. Well, fighting out of Boca Raton, Florida. So
yeah, he was
down
on
with
the
boys.
he was a coach on the Ultimate Fighter for when it was Black Zillions against Top Team. He was on Black Zillions.
So it looks like he hasn't had a fight since 2019, and those were all boxing fights.
Yeah,
so it looks like he was boxing for a few years.
He's had kickboxing, Muay Thai fights. This might be his MMA debut, actually.
So it was a leg injury against Gokhan Saki in 2014. Oh, no, sorry. So his last fight was 2019 against Jason Minden.
That might have been it.
But he won by knockout. So I don't know if it was a training injury.
Nah, it was in a fight, bro. They showed it. They're probably going to show it on the replay of this. Let's look this up. Tyrone Spong injury. On good old
Tapology, sometimes I have noticed that, especially the more we've got into like one championship.
Yeah.
Their Muay Thai, kickboxing, like boxing stuff isn't as crisp as their MMA stuff. Which understandably, like, there's so many fights and it's not easy to.
All right, here we go. Gokhan Saki, Tyrone Spong. Glory kickboxing.
Oh, yeah. This was 2014.
Yeah. Correct. This is when the fucking leg injury happens, and we're about to see it live and get a reaction.
Let me see here. So,
yeah.
So this pretty much ended. So this is probably what ended his. Oh
yeah.
That's bad. Okay, so this ended his kickboxing career. Then he went over to boxing after that in 2015, after the recovery. That makes a lot of sense. Because, yeah, if that happened to me, I'd never kick another human. Never. Yeah. I don't even think I'd kick a soccer ball. But
this guy got one of the hardest punches of all time, and he about to fight Sergey Karatanov, who's killer from Russia. So this makes for a good fight. I'm not going to lie.
Let's see what we got on Karatanov. He fought Czech Congo in Bellator.
Yep.
No way. He lost to Czech Congo by rear naked choke. Huh. But Fabio Maldonado and some random Paris FC. He's had a few fights there. So he beat Matt Mitrione.
Yeah, like this is how Roy Nelson. I'm telling you.
He beat Roy Nelson back in 2018. Okay. I mean, most of the guys he's beaten were kind of on the back end of their career, but lost to Anderson Silva in Glory Kickboxing in 2014. All right, so he's been around the block. Like, not the most impressive. He beat Alistair Overeem in K1 in 2007. Wow. Lost to Alistair Overeem in Pride. Beat Fabricio Verdum in Pride in 2005. Wow.
Damn.
This guy's really been around.
Yeah, this is a sick fight, low key, bro.
Corey Peterson in Pride.
If you're like a junkie. Yo, is you rolling up right now, fam?
I could probably make that happen.
All right, let's get this bread. Big fight, big money vibes. Kevin Lee, Diego Sanchez possibly coming in the future. Well, is coming in the future for Eagle FC. Kind of like what they're putting out here. I'm not going to front.
That's going to be a banger of a fight. Like, they were showing
low
kind
key,
of a preview. Yeah. They were showing a preview of it earlier where they were just talking about it. And it was just kind of like, I love when two fighters, especially two veteran fighters, kind of have that mentality of like, I don't know, he's a pretty bad dude. I'm a pretty bad dude. Some bad shit's going to happen and someone going to win. Like,
bro, I'm not to try to get all like techie and nerdy and geeky here, but like, there's something about when I see new promotions, it's their cutscenes, it's the graphics they got, it's production, it's the overall, bro. This shit look half legit, bro. This shit look literally nice. Like, it's perfect. I like it.
No, I think Khabib has a good relationship with Dana White. I think he's kept close eye on how the UFC's marketed, how they do their interviews, how they do their cutaways, how they, immediately getting Chael Sonnen and Henry Cejudo on the mic. Like, those things matter. And that's the little things. Because at the end of the day, as I've kind of, realized, there's a ton of talent out there, and there's a lot of good fucking fighters. Like, you can find good fighters, and if you have the money for them, you can put on a good show.
Bro, and you don't think Cejudo and Chael Sonnen got guys that are itching to get on this shit?
And as we're kind of talking about it, and I mean, we said we did our breakdown, and we are excited for those Bellator fights, but like
Cejudo.
Bellator pisses me off most of the time I watch it. It's just not like entertaining. Like the fights are fine, like it's still MMA. They still got some high level fighters, but it's just on a whole, the whole entertainment product, which at the core of it, that's what it is. So I'm saying we got Kamaru, we got Cejudo, we got Chael. Who's the fourth guy in there?
No idea.
Yeah, I don't know.
I think it's like just a random guy they're giving the shot.
Just their play-by-play.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Which I'm fine with that, because then you get your voice. You get
the
unique voice. Like that will be the voice of Eagle FC. Like
correct.
Or at least their English broadcast.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like what they're doing here. I don't know. I love different promotions, and I like seeing it out. So
yeah, and I think it's one of those things that it's like, just as the sport grows, like I think multiple promotions can be successful, and I think it actually does. Kind of like I was saying on my rant earlier with the USFL and stuff with the NFL, like it forces the UFC to basically not be a monopoly, and forces them to, when you're not a monopoly, you have to take care of your patrons, aka your fans, and your employees, aka your fighters. That happens in any business. Like that's just simple business, that when things control the whole market, they're gonna, pay only what they have to. And then once that market share is threatened, they'll pay more to not, to keep that market share. So I think that this competition is going to be a good thing. And I don't think I'm so curious with this, because they do have some like
this is at the Apex backing. Center.
Like how much is there?
They recorded this video at the Apex Center. They had to have.
Yeah.
This just looks like the UFC Apex Center.
Does look a lot like it, but
anywho, keep going.
I think this is where they're at in Florida, though.
Could be. I don't know. I just got big Apex vibes.
Could be.
We rented that shit out and shot a film one day.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, I'm very curious to see how, like, where it almost falls in, because I think they'll get, a couple. I think they'll get a couple big.
When there's MMA promotions, hear this out. MMA promotions need to be like soccer teams. You need to be like a small level soccer team and be like, you know what? We're not the UFC. We're not Manchester United. But you know what we're going to do? We're Petersburg United. We're going to buy players for really low amounts of money. We're going to give them a stage to perform and do what they do best. And when that succeeds, we're going to sell them on for a lot much more. And when that doesn't succeed, it won't work. But guess what? If you can build yourself into, hey, guys come through here and go on to the UFC or go on to this or go on to that, then you become something. And
that's what
then
I'm kind of curious about.
Then you're a CFFC. Now you're half credible.
Right. What's their business model?
But how many of those can survive? After you get 4 to 5 of those, does anyone care?
Right.
And then the talent pool's lesser. And
yeah, because if you got Cage Warriors, you got CFC, you got LFA, you got, or are they going to be kind of, Bellator-esque, where it's like, okay, some fighters who maybe just left the UFC, or like Ray Borg, some of these guys that maybe have fizzled out, or are kind of on their way to retirement or whatever, but they see that like Bellator, because Bellator's always had the talent. Like I've always seen some names that I'm interested in. It's just the product they've put on hasn't been great. So is their model a little more on that, where okay, yeah, we'll get all the fighters, we just produce it better. I'm very curious to see which way they end up really going.
All right, this fight taking forever. If it don't come on in the next 3 minutes, we're out.
Yeah, we've been on for about 2 hours.
I know. You know what? Fuck it. We out.
I appreciate it.
That is what it be, dude. We out, dude.